Grr, grr, grr. Now they got your attention, my name is Andy. I'm the naturalist with the Elkhart County Park Department, and today we're going to be talking about an animal that is quite common here throughout North America. And this is an animal that starts with the letter C, since we're doing a series called Nature A to Z. So our animal starts with the letter C, and I'm going to give you an idea, a hint of what it is, and see if you can figure out what it is. Okay, there he is. It kind of looks like a German Shepherd, but it's not a dog because dog does not start with the letter C. And well, he kind of looks like a wolf, I suppose, or a jackal, but neither one of them starts with the letter C. This is what's called a coyote. The word coyote is kind of an interesting word. And I say that because that word is about 1,000 years old. And it came from the Aztecs. It's kind of a Mexican Spanish word that actually means trickster. So the coyote is a very smart animal, and he's very adaptable, and this is why he's able to survive in the presence of people, but a lot of animals are not. Now we have two types of coyotes. We have the western coyote and we have the eastern coyote. Now when I say types, they have the same scientific name, which is CANIS LATRANS. And CANIS LATRANS is it actually means what does it mean? Barking dog. So they do a lot. They're very vocal animals. And when I say there's two separate species, but they get the same scientific name, what I'm talking about is a species that is west of the Mississippi River, and that is where, as far as we know, they actually originated. This the coyote west of the Mississippi River was we know that it's a western coyote. He's almost all coyote over there. The western coyote is, and I'm calling him a western coyote, that's not his official name, I suppose, but we're calling him western coyote because he does live west of the Mississippi River, which is different than over here. So the western species are a smaller species of coyote, and they're mostly coyote, where the eastern species has a lot of wolf in them, and some dog as well. They are bigger than the western coyote because they do have a large percentage of wolf in them compared to the western coyote. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, the eastern coyote, he may weigh 35, maybe up to 50 pounds, where the western coyote, he's only like 20 to 30 pounds. It's believed that the coyote started out west. Maybe it's an isolated jackal and became the coyote. We're not real sure. There's a lot of controversy about the coyote. When Lewis and Clark were exploring the western part of the United States, they saw this animal and they called it a prairie wolf. Now, it's kind of confusing, but we have the dog, we have the coyote, we have the wolf, we have the dingo, the hyena, we have the fox. These are all members of what's called the Canidae family. And the ones that we have around here are the dog, the coyote, and the wolf. Now we do have the fox, but the fox is not a Canis. He's in the family Canidae, or not Canis species. So we're going to, since we don't have dingoes and hyenas around here, jackals or things like that, we're going to focus on the dog, the coyote, and the wolf. Because if you mix a dog with a coyote, you'll get a coy dog. If you mix a dog with a wolf, you get a wolf dog. If you mix a coyote with a wolf, then you get a coy wolf. So we've got what's called the coy wolf around here. Now, we don't call it a coy wolf. We call it a coyote, okay? Coyotes are very common around here. We usually don't see them, but you usually hear them before you see them. Generally out west where there's not a lot of people, they will hunt in packs. Coyotes around here are a different kind of coyote than we have in the west. I want to make that clear, but they're still the same scientific name, which is CANIS LATRANS. So we have CANIS lupus, which is the gray wolf, and most of our coyotes around here interbred with the CANIS lupans. So we've also got what's called the Canis familiaris, which is your domestic dog, and they do breed as well with the wild coyote. So it's best to keep your pets very safe at night, especially if they're small, because coyotes will take small pets. They have a varied diet. They're what we call opportunists, and they will eat just about anything they can find to eat as is necessary or as the opportunity arises. And so you might find coyotes, which are basically carnivores, but they still are omnivores. So they may be eating berries, seeds, insects, mostly small mammals is what they prefer. Indiana is the first place where they actually found one of the largest wolves, the dire wolf, remains of the dire wolf, which is a very large wolf. And so when it died off, the gray wolf came, and then when we killed off the gray wolf, that left a space for the coyote, which we have today. Now take a look at their ears. They've got these big, huge ears for such a small skull here, and this big, long nose, which is good for picking up scents and going through all kinds of vegetation or holes or whatever. It's a lot thinner, it's a lot more narrow than a dog's nose is usually. They've got this fur, and this fur is very, very bristled. It's soft, but it's bristled. And if you see a coyote out in the wild, they're hard to see when they're standing against what I'm standing right here because of the dead vegetation. They just blend in very, very well against their environment. This is January, and coyotes will generally mate anywhere from the middle of January through February. They'll have maybe around 5 to 7 pups. Now, they may have as many as 13. They generally have about 5 to 7, but they may have even more than that. And when they build their dens are going to be hard to find. I mean, sometimes they're easy to find. They have them right out in the open. Other times they're very hard to find because they'll put them underneath trees, tree roots, or inside of logs. Sometimes they dig their own dens on the side of a hill. Sometimes they dig out an animal's home, like a groundhog or a fox that has taken over a groundhog hole. They'll enlarge that for their own hole. They're very versatile in where they den, but generally they will den underneath the ground, and sometimes they'll den in a culvert or something like that. Well, this must be a fairly old den just based on some of the bones that I'm seeing here. So let's take a look at a coyote's den and now. Get it? Den and now. A lot of humor there. Say very little. Both parents begin digging dens around the end of March and April. So they're going to start digging their own, or they may dig this one back out and use it again. This is probably a good 2 feet wide and probably a foot tall, I suppose. Some of them are wider. It just depends on the coyote. Hello in there. You. Hello in there. Of course, one good indication that it's a coyote hole is if you see the coyote come out of it. Truth is, you're not going to find bones in most cases around a coyote hole, or for that matter, generally the coyote, because they only use their den for a couple of months before they move out. And they usually don't have a lot of bones around their den. They usually eat the animal on sight and then regurgitate it when they get to their den. But when it comes to the coyote, sometimes he'll build his home out in the open. Sometimes it's out in the bank. It can be camouflaged. Don't look for bright, flashing neon lights if you're looking for a coyote den. appears to be just a kind of a combination between dog scat and a coon scat, although it's a little lighter than coon scat, a little bigger than coon scat. But still, if you look at it, it'll contain bits of vegetation, bits of maybe bones, feathers, fur, teeth. So here we got some coyote tracks. Are quite long, and it's quite a narrow foot that he has right here. Okay, so you can see how the dog footprint is wide. Very distinctive. The coyote is a very versatile animal, and he will live just about anywhere. He might live in towns, he might live out in the country, might live in prairies, fields, forests. It just depends on the coyote. Coyotes live around 10 to 13 years of age, and they can live longer in captivity, but out in the wild, about 10 to 13 years. Their enemies is mostly man, cars, hunters, traps, things like this. This is their main enemy. Now, you get in other places, you may have problems with cougars as their enemies, or bears, wolves, things like that may be their enemy. But they're not the wicked animal that you would think they would be. Of course, you don't want to go up to them because coyotes can bite. Sometimes they may get rabies. They can be vicious if they're protecting their young, if they feel cornered, if they're sick or injured. But most of the time, coyotes are very, very, very gentle animals that you just want to watch them from a distance. You don't want to try to pet them. You don't want to get up to them because they can be defensive at some times. So anyway, this is Andy Langdon, A to Z with the coyote. Oh, here's one coming now. Well, hi there, fella. Hello there, fella. Hi there. Grr, 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 grr.